A man of many well-developed interests, Hiss is an author, photographer, explorer, real estate developer, and civic leader. However, none of his interests is stronger than architectural design. St. Petersburg Times, 1964.
Philip Hansen Hiss embodied the notion of thinking globally and acting locally. He is known as the man who made Sarasota modern through his role as the impresario and enthusiastic promoter of the Sarasota School of Architecture. Influenced by his formative years in the Northeast and further reinforced through his global travels, Hiss's wide-ranging, integrated interests would help transform the Sarasota community into a celebrated destination known for exceptional culture, art, design, and education. Hiss landed in Sarasota after surveying the Florida coastline on the Garuda, a 39-foot wooden craft custom-built by famed Stanford boat builder William Luder. He was drawn in part to the area by the natural beauty, the prominence of the Ringling Museum, and the possibility of promoting an approach to modern life in harmony with the climate and cultural environment of South Florida's Gulf Coast. From the Lido Shores residential development to the Sarasota Public School program, Hiss's forward-thinking and innovative projects changed Sarasota. His legacy continues to resonate and offer lessons for today.
With a whimsical sense of humor, not much admiration for people of his own race, and plenty of curiosity about the people of other races, Hansen Hiss is well on his way to know about the globe he lives on.
Hiss didn't just travel as an adventurous tourist. He undertook serious analysis of the places he visited and documented them thoroughly through his writing and photography. His most formal accounts, the published works Bali, 1941, and Netherlands America, 1943, demonstrate the rigor with which he pursued this ethnographic work. His Bali excursion was formally recognized and supported by the Riverside Museum in New York City, which then hosted an exhibition of his photographs. During World War II, Hiss spent 5 months traveling through the Dutch West Indies to produce Netherlands America, sent by the Dutch government as part of the war effort. His wartime studies, combined with his personal, creative, and intellectual pursuits, reflected a larger movement where artists, writers, and scholars employed their skills in service to their country. Hiss made his disdain for colonial expansion and exploitation well known in his writing, and described his respect for those who live in harmony with their natural environment, and who live with a sense of art and design integrated into their daily lives. He was determined to show how modern, industrialized peoples could live in accord with their surroundings, create community, and educate themselves toward an enlightened future. The key to this, he felt, was the concept of good design, widely popularized through a series of exhibitions and projects initiated by the Museum of Modern Art in New York and distributed throughout department stores and other popular venues across the country.
The degree to which people are adjusted to their environment is the true measure of their happiness.
His explorations through the Southern Hemisphere taught him a great deal about how best to live in tropical and subtropical environments. He applied these lessons in Sarasota through his activities as a designer and developer. In 1949, Hiss purchased vacant land on North Lido Key with a vision to create a model neighborhood of modernist residences responsive to the climate of South Florida. Hiss named it Lido Shores. At the time, the much-needed housing being constructed in the burgeoning post-war American suburb was generally designed with little regard for the local environment. While not a licensed architect, Hiss designed many of the early homes on Lido Shores through his development company, Hiss Associates, applying what he had learned about capturing tropical breezes for ventilation and cooling, deep overhanging eaves for shade, and terrazzo flooring for its low maintenance in the sandy island environment. Thanks to Hiss's vision and patronage, Lido Shores also provided an experimental platform for emerging architects such as Paul Rudolph and Tim Siebert to transform architectural design and revolutionize domestic living. The original houses of Hiss's innovative community provide lessons on sustainable design approaches and permeable and adaptable buildings that respond to a changing climate. Through Lido Shores and his patronage of local architects, Hiss helped produce an innovative and regionally specific strand of tropical modernism, now better known by the moniker Sarasota School of Architecture.
We are not going to have a better physical environment until as a people we understand the need for it and will support it. And this is purely a matter of education.
Hiss was drawn to public service and devoted his activities to socially transforming and improving his community. In 1955, he was elected to the Sarasota County School Board and eventually served as the chair. Hiss was committed to supporting teachers' academic freedom under a climate of McCarthyism, and he fought vociferously for desegregation in a community that was late to acknowledge and act on the Brown versus Board of Education ruling. It was during this dynamic and tumultuous time that he engineered the school's building program, resulting in the establishment of nearly a dozen architecturally significant buildings from 1951 to 1963. Hiss was a proponent of the cluster campus model, mirroring a village square concept as opposed to the previous convention of a monolithic plant that did not foster interaction or allow for the fluidity among interior and exterior that is available in a temperate climate. Hiss felt and demonstrated repeatedly that employing good design principles could be cost-effective as well as successful pedagogically and aesthetically. After the initial success, inertia set in, and Hiss moved on from the K-12 realm to higher education.
Buildings speak a great deal louder than words. They say many things about a community's attitude toward education, toward intellectualism, toward creativity. They speak of interest or apathy, pride or neglect.
After a dozen successful public K-12 schools delivered, not without challenge and controversy, Hiss turned his attentions to higher education. After nearly a decade of planning, New College opened its doors to students in 1964. Hiss professed the purpose of the innovative institution was to, quote, seek new solutions to new educational need, accepting no dogma without test, striving to eliminate all barriers that inhibit the growth of ideas. New College was named and partially modeled after Oxford's New College, developed in 1386 and given the moniker to distinguish it from another college. The core concept was to encourage free-ranging intellectual inquiry under tutelage of the finest faculty minds, with a contractual system of assessment rather than traditional grades. Key to all of this was a properly designed campus that could foster this radical reinvention of an old concept. Hiss invited top architects and key emerging design professionals to participate in the process of identifying and vetting candidates who could provide a vision and a plan for the New College campus. In choosing renowned architect I.M. Pei, Hiss described the process. It seemed impossible to find the right man. We met some brilliant men, some inspired men, and for a time we thought it would be difficult to resolve the problem. Then we met Mr. Pei, and the decision of the committee was unanimous. We knew we had met the right man. Each day we became more enthusiastic about our choice. Although the full Pei plan was never realized, the magnificent dormitory building with its cluster courtyard design was built and not only housed students, but originally met other needs of the fledgling institution. The building still fulfills its original use and continues to inspire students today.
In my opinion, a more highly qualified consultant in matters of architecture does not exist. Charles Colbert, Dean Emeritus of the Columbia School of Architecture.
In 1967, Hiss penned an essay for the prestigious global magazine, The Architectural Forum, entitled Whatever Happened to Sarasota?
In the 1950s, there was a greater concentration of architectural talent in Sarasota than any small town in the United States. Sarasota seemed to be on the verge of becoming a community with an unusual appreciation of the arts and enough leisure time to pursue them, and with a sufficient number of concerned people who spoke out for those values and were heard. It was all an illusion. Today, Sarasota has almost completely surrendered to the big developers and to East Coast of Florida money.
Philip Hansen Hiss's commitment to education and deep belief in the transformative possibilities of good design resulted in numerous generative gifts to our community. But getting there was not easy. The work of transforming a community can be complex, messy, and fraught. The essay had a tone of frustration. Hiss was a brilliant, complex man who contributed greatly to the Sarasota region, but who was forthright in his criticisms of what he believed was holding the community back. Dynamic tension among community stakeholders involving growth, change, priorities, resource allocation, and ultimately values is a natural part of the democratic process. While these community conversations are often challenging, they are essential. We are ultimately asking ourselves, who are we? How do we want to live? What are our responsibilities to our community, to our children, and to theirs? These are the core questions that we ask ourselves and fellow residents, and the answers, reflecting our collective values, will impact generations to follow. We are grateful to past leaders in our community who asked and answered these questions, giving us the Sarasota School of Architecture, the public school program, New College, and the other exceptional cultural and educational offerings that Sarasota has become known for. Hiss said, in closing, "Let us not blame the teachers, let us blame the system. And let us blame ourselves for not demanding something better."